So in the last lecture, we had basically learned that all the left cosets of a particular subgroup H have the same size, right? So in this lecture, we are going to study about how cosets form a partition. What is a partition? So suppose we have some subsets, or rather some sets, say S1, S2 up till Sn, such that the union of all these sets, okay, the union of all these sets form the set S, whose subsets are actually these sets. Okay, so S1, S2 and S up till Sn are the subsets of S, and the union of all of them will form S. And this is pretty easy to understand, but the thing here is that each and every subset of S whose union we are taking, they must be disjoint, and that is the main condition for each of them to be a partition of S. Got it? Clear? So if there are n number of sets whose union become, or rather n number of such subsets whose union give you the set itself, provided that each of the subsets are mutually disjoint, then those subsets form the partition of S. So here we need to show that all the left cosets which we can have of a particular subgroup, all the left cosets are either equal or their union is null. Clear? So suppose we have two left cosets, G1H and G2H. So either G1H equals to G2H, or G1H intersecting G2H equals to null. Yes, so we are going to prove that. So see, we have considered that we have two left cosets, G1H and G2H, and their intersection is not null. That is, they now see what can happen is that, so basically we need to basically we have considered that there are some elements which are common to both of them, both of these left cosets. Clear? Now see, we know that the identity element will belong to the subgroup H. So therefore, for some G1 belonging to the group G, G1H will surely belong to the subgroup H, where H, small h, is an element of capital H. It is a subgroup. Reason being ki, if H is equal to the identity element, then G1E will surely belong to H. Clear? Got it? Okay. Now see, since we have said that the intersection is not null, so this G1 can also rather belong to some subset G2H, or let me make it a bit clear. I made it a bit wrong here. See, G1H will actually be a subset of this. Clear? G1H will actually be a subset of G1 capital H. I have missed the G1 portion there. Okay, so G1 small h will surely be an element of the left coset G1 capital H. Reason being ki small h can also include the identity element. Here, now G1 can also be an element of G2 capital H. By these methods, see, G1 can belong to the set G2H, right? But G2 can be any element from the group G. Now composing H on both sides, we can say that since H composed H belongs to the subgroup capital H itself, so G1H also belongs to the left coset G2 capital H. Got it? Clear? So therefore we have here basically assume the condition that the intersection is not null. There is some element which belongs to both these left cosets. Now let X belong to G1H, this left coset. And since we have considered that G1H also belongs to G2 capital H, so we can say that X also belongs to G2 capital H, which basically means that G1 capital H is a subset of G2 capital H. Clear? Then if we do this in the reverse order, that is, we consider here G2 as an element and show everything, that basically doing this in the reverse order by replacing G1 with G2, we can show that G2H also becomes a subset of G1H. And since both are subsets of each other, so by equality of sets, they will actually be equal to each other. Okay. So when they are not, when their intersection is not null, so they must be equal to each other. Now we also can show that their intersection is null or they have no elements in common if they are not equal to each other. So if they are not equal to each other, so G1 H1 cannot be equal to G2 H2. That means G1 cannot be equal to G2 G2 composed with H2 H1 inverse. Now H2 H1 inverse will surely belong to capital H because H2 and H1 are individually elements of capital H. So that means ki G1 does not belong to G2H, but G1 will surely belong to G1 capital H because you know this H contains the identity element. Clear? Got it? So basically what happens is that, okay, so okay, wait, let me, I'm sorry, so this is G1H, this is G1H. Okay, so G1H does not belong to but G1H will surely belong to G1 capital H because a identity element is there in capital H, but this condition is false. Got it? Therefore we can see that from here that there are no elements common to both these left cosets, so that actually becomes, their intersection actually becomes null. Clear? You can go through these proofs again, okay, or maybe I will be trying to give you a PDF of these proofs up there. Okay, next we will prove the Lagrange's theorem. Okay, what does the Lagrange theorem say? The Lagrange theorem actually said that the order of the subgroup of a particular group G will divide the order of the group. So we can say that G is equals to A1H union A2H up till ANH. Reason being ki they left cosets actually form a partition of that particular group G. Clear? We just proved it up there. So now if you basically compare them on the basis of order. So since each of these left cosets, their union gives us G, so the number of elements in G will actually be the summation of the orders of each, right? So we've done this here only. So OG is equal to summation of each of them. Now since all left cosets are of the same size as of the subgroup, so we replaced each of these cosets with H, and from here we can finally show that OG equals to K times OH, where K is basically a positive integer, and so OG over OH equals to K. That means ki OH divides OG. Clear? This was the proof of the Lagrange theorem. So in the next lecture we are going to bring right cosets and normal subgroups, quotient groups, and we will be moving further on with our group theory lectures. So guys, meet you in the next lecture.